Welcome to Hey Mom, We Never Prepared for This, the show where we have the tough conversations around aging and caring for a loved one. Whether you're an adult child or an aging parent or anyone caring for a loved one, this podcast is for you. I am your host, Angela Vanderpool, and each episode we dive into actionable tips, heartfelt stories, and expert guidance to support you on your journey. Let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Hey Mom, We Never Prepared for This. Last episode, we talked about one of the hardest questions families face. When is the right time to start thinking about senior living? And if you joined me for that conversation, you heard me say something we hear all the time from new residents after they move in. I wish I would have done this sooner. And that's often true. But once you've decided it's time to start looking, a new question shows up. How do you actually choose the right place? Because this isn't just about finding somewhere available. It's not just about comparing price sheets or floor plans or who has the nicest dining room. It's about finding the place that feels right. The place where you or someone you love will feel safe, supported, respected, and at home. And that decision matters deeply. So today, I want to talk about what really matters when choosing a senior living community and how to know when a place is the right fit. One key thing we talk about is start looking before you need to. One of the biggest takeaways from a recent U.S. News and World Report survey was this. Most older adults who begin researching senior living are not doing it because something has already gone wrong. They're doing it because they want their families not to be forced into making a rush decision during a crisis mode. And that is such an important distinction. The families who feel the most overwhelmed and often the ones making a decision after a fall, after a hospitalization, after a diagnosis, or after something has already changed. And when decisions are made in crisis, they're often made quickly, emotionally, and with very little room to process what someone actually wants. The families who tend to feel more confident, they usually started earlier, not because they were ready to move tomorrow, but because they were ready to learn. They started asking questions. They toured, they gathered information, they gave themselves time. And time really changes everything. Know what you're actually looking for. Before you start comparing communities, pause and ask a more important question. What matters most to me? Or what matters most to your mom or dad or your spouse? Not just medically, not just financially, but personally. What kind of lifestyle matters most to you? Do you want social connection? Do you value privacy? Are activities important? Is food important to you? How important is flexibility? Do you need support today? Or are you planning for support in the future? Because senior living is not a one size fits all. And one of the biggest mistakes families make is only asking, what level of care do they need? That matters, of course, but equally important is, what kind of life do they want to live while receiving that care? That question changes everything. Don't just assess need, assess fit. One of the most interesting findings in this survey was that many families struggle to figure out which level of care their loved one actually needs. In fact, nearly two-thirds said determining the right level of care was one of the hardest parts of the process. And that makes sense because this isn't always obvious. Maybe mom is mostly okay, but is forgetting medications. Or maybe dad is still really independent, but had two falls this year. Or maybe everything looks fine from the outside, but daily life is quietly becoming a little harder. This is where families often get stuck because they're trying to answer the question, can they still live at home? But often the better question is, how well are they really living right now? Are they safe? Are they eating well? Are they isolated? Are they overwhelmed? Are they thriving? Or are they just getting by? That's a very different lens. And often that lens makes the answer much clearer. Trust matters more than almost anything else. This was the most important finding in the entire survey. And honestly, it really didn't surprise me. More than 80% of seniors said staff trustworthiness was one of the most important factors in choosing a senior living provider. Not just amenities, not just cost, not just location, trust. And that makes perfect sense because at some point, you are not just choosing a building, you're choosing people. You're choosing the people who will answer the call button, the people who will notice if something feels off, the people who will serve meals, offer support, respond in hard moments, and shape your daily life. That is no small thing. You are choosing who you trust with someone's ordinary days. And ordinary days are what life is made of. So when you tour a community, pay attention to that. How do people greet you? Do staff make eye contact? Do they seem warm and engaged? Do residents seem known? Does the team feel engaged or just busy? Does it feel calm? Does it feel genuine? Pay attention to what your body tells you while you're there. You can feel the difference between polished and sincere, and that difference matters. Look beyond the tour. A beautiful tour is lovely, and a beautiful tour is also designed to be lovely. So, yes, look at the apartments. Yes, look at the dining room. Yes, ask about the activity program, but also look deeper. What does the community feel like when no one is performing for you? Ask things like, how long has your leadership team been here? How long does your staff stay? What does training look like for your staff? How do you communicate with families? What happens when someone's needs change? How do you handle concerns when something goes wrong? Because trust is not built through marketing, it's built through consistency, and consistency always leaves clues. The right fit should feel like relief. At the end of the day, choosing a senior living community is not about finding the perfect place. It's about finding the place that feels safe, warm, trustworthy, and aligned. The right place should not just check boxes, it should create a sense of relief, a sense that maybe this doesn't have to be so scary, a sense that maybe support can also feel like dignity, a sense that maybe this next chapter can still feel full of life. That's what you're really looking for. Not just care, not just a building, trust, belonging, and the feeling that someone will know you. If you're starting this process now, start early. Ask better questions. Pay attention to what matters most and trust what you feel when you walk through that door. Because choosing senior living is not just about finding care, it's about finding the right people to walk this next chapter with you. And that's what matters more than almost anything else. Thanks again for being with us here today on Hey Mom, We Never Prepared for This. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Hey Mom, We Never Prepared for This. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps us reach more adult children and their aging parents and loved ones. Special thanks to our sponsor, Dharma Healthcare Management, for supporting the show. Stay tuned for more honest conversations to help you find peace, clarity and community with others who understand what you're going through. And we'll see you next time on Hey Mom, We Never Prepared for This.